All right. What, the whole introduction thing. All right. I'm getting really tired, dude. I've done so much stuff. In this current day as I'm recording this, because you guys are watching this in the future. Um, I like finished letters of recommendation. I wrote your thank you cards. I like did all this stuff, man. It's a whole thing. I've made other videos. We're almost done though. This is the last thing. So, anyways, here's how this is gonna go. This little review for your EOC before you start your mock next time. We're going to practice with some EOC documents, and how that's going to work is exactly this. We're going to start with the EOC A document, and here's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to take 16 minutes. So when I tell you, not yet, you are going to take 16 minutes, and you're going to break this document down the way that I detailed in the EOC review video. And if you never ended up watching that, when I gave you a review of how you did on your previous EOC mock a little while ago, you're gonna need to watch that before you try to do this, because I gave you an exact science on how to do this in 16 minutes. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take 16 minutes and you are going to try to locate the main argument. You'll take 2 minutes for that, and you'll take 7 minutes to try to find the evidence, and then you'll take 7 minutes to try to find the claims. Now, I will give a quick recap. 2 minutes to try to find the primary argument. Where do you look for it? First paragraph, second paragraph. All right. And then you're not locating the claims next. You're going to locate the evidence next, because it's going to make it easier to find the claims. When you go to locate the evidence, what are you looking for? You're not reading, you're looking. You're looking for anything that has numbers in it. You're looking for anything that has quotation marks. You're looking for anything that gives credentials, like a name or a title or anything like that, right? You know what evidence looks like. You're just looking for it. When you see it, you highlight it, you mark it up, you do whatever, right? Whatever you do that works for your brain. And even if you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe this evidence, maybe it's not, mark it, dude. What's the worst that could happen, right? So you're looking for those things. You know what evidence looks like. Then you got 7 minutes to do that, and I would use all 7 minutes. So if you got time left over after you go through the document, look through it again. Then 7 minutes. You're gonna have to pace yourself here, or Miss Womack, if you could like put a timer on the screen or like help them pace this out, that would be great. You know what I mean? Um, then you're gonna take 7 minutes and you're gonna try to locate the claims. Uh, that should be much easier, because now that you have marked off what is evidence, you're literally only looking at the stuff that you haven't marked off to see like what is a claim, right? So you'll read through that stuff. Remember, a claim is something that can be argued. It's an opinion. It's debatable. It's not a fact, right? You have to support claims with facts, so a claim can't be a fact. So um, you look for those, you mark them up, highlight them, whatever. Boom, you did that. 16 minutes. And when you take 16 minutes, try to get that done, right? Don't talk. Don't ask anybody else. Don't do any of that. This is you focusing, seeing if you can do it. 16 minutes strategically. You're not reading, right? You're strategic right now. That's what you're going to do. Okay. 16 minutes. And then after 60 minutes has passed, right, I want you to come back to this video, right? So I'll take a pause here in a second, so that way the video can get paused and then you can go back or whatever. And then when you come back, I'll have shared my screen and I'll show you if you got everything that you were supposed to get. So, and then we'll go from there. Great. 16 minutes. You should start right about now. Okay, hopefully that was a long enough pause for you to pause the video. All right, now I'm going to share my screen. 16 minutes. Hopefully you utilized every second, and you did a good job. Maybe, maybe not. Share my screen. Big John. All right. Okay. So, case for handwriting. What's in green is primary argument. What's going to be in yellow is evidence, and what's going to be in pink are claims. So, we're going to look through this real fast. Obviously, I told you to find the primary argument. You're going to want to look at the first paragraph, last paragraph. I look in the first paragraph, not that long. So honestly, I probably would have sped read or speed read through the whole thing. This is across the country, handwriting instruction is fading from prominence as teachers and students go electronic. Keyboarding and word processing are viewed as essential skills. Handwriting is not. That sounds like an argument to me. It's definitely the primary argument, right? Because it's an opinion. What follows after is, as a result, many schools and districts emboldened by the new standards will only require students to print upper and lowercase letters, have drastically cut back or on or eliminated handwriting instruction. This doesn't sound as important to me. This sounds like it's really the main point here. And then I go back or down, excuse me, to the um, conclusion. I see if like maybe they rephrase or reemphasize the same point. Keyboarding and tech skills are a necessity, but handwriting matters too. And it said something similar all the way up there, so I know I'm on the right track. You can offer your students the best of both worlds by giving them opportunities to do both, right? And then they kind of support that with evidence right there. But I know, bada bing, bada boom, I have my primary argument, and it's definitely something along the lines of handwriting is fading from instruction, right? But it definitely still has a place, and it's definitely important. Now, do I have all the parts to the argument yet? No, but I do know the driving force behind this argument already, right? I have like the I have the thesis, like the overall. I just don't have the parts, right? So if I were to form a Q1 out of this so far, I'd probably get 2 points, not three, because I don't have the parts. But I got a base, you know what I mean? And it's a good place to start. So then what do? You look for evidence. Let's look for the evidence. What did I tell you to look for? One of the things was quotation marks. Right off the bat, I see quotation marks. Bada bing, bada boom. And then it says Laura Deinhardt. Okay, that's not the person who wrote this. There's got to be evidence. I just mark it all up. Florida International University. That's definitely another key, right? And then more quotes. Definitely evidence. Indiana University researcher. Don't even have to read this any further. I know this is evidence, right? And then I'm just going to mark up this whole thing. I see this as using MRI scan. She showed that motor sections light up when literate adults simply look at printed text. Ooh, hold on. I'm going to leave that as it is, actually. Boom. Why? Because of this right here. I'm going to talk about that in a second. We'll come back. Anyways, more quotation marks. Boom. Deinhardt says, so I know this is going to be evidence again from the same exact person. I'm going to mark all that up. I don't see anything there that looks like evidence, so I'm moving on. That doesn't look like evidence. Boom. This literally says the word evidence, using it, marking it up. And then I have quotation marks. And then it says occupational therapist. Great. A 2014 study, that's evidence. Marking it up. Not going to read any further. I'm going to mark the whole thing. This doesn't look like evidence. Moving on. Janine, okay, great. Evidence, right? Going to mark the whole thing up. And then bada bing, bada boom, it's quotation marks. And then this is also the same name there. So I know we're still using this same person. So if that's evidence, this is evidence. I'm going to mark that up, not reading any further. All right. Research by Virginia. Boom. This is going to be evidence, right? Professor of educational technology or psychology or whatever. Okay, great. And then study published in the British. Yep, that's evidence. Let's see. Deinhardt says it's going to be evidence because somebody's saying it. I got quotation marks right there. Great. Um, more on that in a second. And then Rhonda Thomas, a sixth grade English teacher. Okay, more quotation marks. This is more just like anecdotal evidence or like qualitative evidence. No, quantitative evidence. No, qualitative evidence. Yeah, whatever, dude. That part doesn't matter. This is evidence, right? I mark that up. I move on. This doesn't look like evidence to me. I'm moving on. Quotation marks, says Deinhardt. Same lady again. Definitely evidence. More quotation marks. Whoever James is, James said it. That's evidence. Let's see. Teachers add blah, blah, blah. Quotation marks, quotation marks. I'm going to mark all this as evidence. Bada bing, bada boom. And then this is quotation marks too. You can mark it as evidence if you want to. But I feel like, Deinhardt again, we've got enough from Deinhardt, right? Using the same lady over and over again. That also, as you're doing that, you should be thinking in your mind, right? I mean, you've seen that a lot of this evidence does have like credentials attached to it. Okay, so maybe we have some credibility throughout this whole thing, but we've used the same lady a lot. So that immediately starts fire in my brain. Okay, Deinhardt, we've used her over and over. I don't know. Do we have a lot of like diversity in evidence here? Are we using the same thing over and over again? That's something I would start thinking about, which would come in handy for Q3 later. Now, I found all my evidence. So I go back through and now I'm going to look for claims. Should be easier because we've marked up a bunch of stuff. I go down to this paragraph right here. We have all this evidence. There's got to be a claim somewhere eventually because we've used a bunch of evidence and we haven't had a claim yet other than the primary one. And then we get down here. Keyboarding doesn't light up literacy sections of the brain in the way handwriting does. This is why I said more on that later when I came up here. Because using MRI scans, she showed that the motor sections light up when literate adults simply look at printed text. So that and that are kind of the same thing, which is why I almost second guessed this, highlighting this particular sentence as evidence. But I'm going to keep it this way because it's just reemphasizing anyways. And this is honestly attached to Karen James. So this is a claim right here because it is arguable, debatable, because it had to be supported with evidence in the first place. So claim. And then we come down here, right? If we have this marked off, might as well look through this. Although researchers aren't sure how handwriting is related to reading, studies have shown that working to improve students' handwritings may improve their reading and vice versa. That's a claim. Mr. Hodge, it says studies say. Guess what? Studies have shown it's not a fact yet, right? Studies have shown it could be a claim. Why could it be a claim? Because it's just saying studies have shown. It hasn't told you, it hasn't given you the study or anything like that. This is a claim. Research shows that writing by hand also activates the parts of the brain that are involved in memory, impulse, control, and attention. This is a claim, right? How do I know it's a claim? It had to be supported by this particular piece of evidence. If you had a supportive evidence, then it's a claim because it could be argued. It's not a fact. So claims can be tricky because they can sound like facts when you present them in the right way, which is how you make an effective argument. Is you want to try to make your claims sound like they are the truth. You know what I mean? Anyways, moving on. I have evidence here. So this might be a claim. Researchers suspect the same may hold true for younger students. It's a claim, right? Now, you don't know all the parts of it because as researchers suspect the same may hold true for younger students, you're thinking to yourself, well, what may hold true? The answer to that lies within the evidence that's right there and probably in here too. So, but you get to mark it up as a claim if that fired in your brain. This one's tough, right? We'll get to that in a second. But all this is evidence, right? There's a ton of evidence in this article. How good that evidence is left up for debate. But many studies have linked handwriting fluency with compositional skill. Claim. Why do I know it's a claim? Again, had to support it with evidence right after. Supported it with different levels of evidence too. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, this whole thing wasn't marked up. It's the near universal rule. It's with better handwriting, do better in school. Certainly sounds like a claim to me, huh? Right? I marked up this whole thing because it is all kind of the same point. Um, yeah, it's a claim. I don't know what I was about to say after that, but it's fine. Escape my brain. And then bada bing, bada boom. We've already marked the rest of this up. So I know I have my claims now. I know I have my evidence now. And then I would then move on from that. Again, um, how you attack it after this and how you write the things after this is kind of up to you. Me, I said it in the other review video. I certainly would write my Q2 first, but that's just me because I don't have all the parts of the argument yet. And I think writing the Q2 would help me make sure that I have that. But again, it's up to you, man. So, and then, where you go from there, who knows? I'd probably write my Q2 and then I would have my parts. I'd then go write my Q1 and then I'd go write my Q3, or I'd write my Q2, I'd write my Q3 because those are both worth 6 points each. And I'd rather get like 2 points in Q1 and lose just 1 point than lose 2 points in Q2 or Q3 because there's not a whole lot of points to gain here. There's only 15 total. So um, that's how I would attack it personally. But everybody's going to be different. So you're going to have to decide for yourself like how you would do it. But that's EOCA, right? For this one. Hopefully you got all the claims. If you didn't, and you got most of them, that's still good. It's still good. Because if you read the rubric, it doesn't say necessarily every single last claim, but most. And it's usually not a lot of wiggle room there, but it depends on how many claims there are. And hopefully you located all the evidence. The evidence is kind of the easiest part, to be honest with you, because you know what evidence looks like. So that's why I have you gather that first before you try to find the claims. Anyways, moving on. All right. UCB. Let's talk about what I want you to do for this. You are going to look through these documents. Yay! I haven't marked mine up because I don't want you to like look at my well, I have marked them up, just not on here. I don't want you looking at my annotations. I want you to look at these documents, and then what you're going to do is you're going to read through them, and you're going to use the same strategy that I talked about in the other video. Again, hopefully you watched it like I told you to. And I know it was a while ago, so I'll give a quick recap. First thing that I would do if I were you is I would look at all the titles before I read anything, because the titles will probably give me an idea of what themes are in that particular document. So, like, I would look at this, the privacy paradox. We claim we care about our data, so why don't our actions match? That title alone, right? English teacher brain is firing on all cylinders right now. I can name you 3 themes potentially that are in that document right there, just based on the title alone, without even reading it, right? So that's what I would do is I'd read the title and I would type out or write down or whatever you're going to do potential themes that could be in that document. I'd move on, right? Uh, Source B from 1984. If you've never read that particular piece of literature, it's not going to mean anything to you. And it doesn't mean anything to me right now, so I'm moving on, right? And then I would go to source C, stop screening job candidates. social media. This tells me some things potentially for sure. I'm not going to tell you what they are because I want you to make that decision for yourself. And then I would go to source D, which just says from Americans and privacy, concerned, confused, and feeling a lack of control over their personal information. That also gives me some theme ideas. I can tell you right now, certainly you can tell what the overarching theme of these documents is without even reading a single one of them. It's obviously privacy. That's no secret. It's, not hiding anything from you guys there. But um, what you're then going to do, right, after you look at the titles, is you decide how you want to attack it. You decide what documents you think would be the best to look at. And I know if I were you, since there was only one document where the title didn't really give me anything, I'd probably give that a look over and scan it real fast. Now, for me and my brain, looking at this, I know what 1984 is, but looking at this, this is not for me, not for the time that I have, not for the time constraint, because it's dense and whatever, in my brain it is anyway. So for me, I don't know that this is what I would use my time with. I might come back to it if I end up needing more evidence and maybe I can look at something for it. But for me, I would probably take this out. Again, it's going to be up to you because maybe you know what 1984 is. Maybe stuff like this is your jam. I don't know. That's you, man. I don't know. You're going to have to decide. But what you're now going to do is you're going to look through these documents. You are not writing a full EOCB. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to now look through them. I want you to imagine that you have given yourself an hour for the EOCB, right? Because you have 2 total hours. I really don't want you, every person's different, so I'm not going to tell you what I want you to do, but ideally, you should have somewhere around 45 minutes for the EOCA. And a lot of you think your EOCB, like you can do it faster and easier. And a lot of my other kids have said the same thing. I know it says an hour, 30 minutes. I just don't think it's going to take you guys that long to write an argumentative essay. I want you to imagine you have given yourself like about an hour, hour and 10 minutes, right? I want you to try to look at it from that standpoint and make your way through these documents. I want you to look through them. I want you to write down themes, and then you are going to try to highlight avid. No, 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 I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I should have wrote this down. I know it in my brain, and words are tough to come by right now. You're going to look through these documents, right? You are going to write down potential themes as you go through the documents. Yes, you're going to decide what documents you want to look at first. You write down potential themes. Then what you have to do is you have to decide what is a potential argument I can make. I have attached a document to this assignment. You're going to use that document. Okay. You are going to type out a potential argument. When I say potential argument, I mean thesis. Okay. A thesis that you would be able to, write your EOCB with, right? Your primary argument, a thesis. Uh, so potential thesis based on the documents that you've used. I also want you to highlight in these documents some evidence that you think would be able to you'd be able to use to support whatever argument it is that you're going to try to make in that document. I want you don't have to put quotation marks. You could like briefly explain your game plan for it and the evidence, right? So how that document should look is you should have I'd probably put my potential themes in there, honestly. So themes, your attempt at a thesis for this, right? And you want to make sure that it's a good enough thesis that it would get all the points in row one, so all 6 points. And then under that, I want like a game plan. Like, what evidence am I going to use to support this? What points am I going to make? That kind of thing. It may look differently for all of you how you do that. It might be bullet points. It might just be like paragraphs or however you're going to do that. But that's how that document should go. Then once you finish, right, you're going to try to find somebody else who has finished. And I want you guys to look at each other's documents. I want you to get as many reviews. I want you to get as much feedback from as many people as possible, right? And when you give people feedback, I want you to tell them if you think that argument, based on what you have looked at in these documents, would be original enough to get all 6 points. I want you to tell them if it sounds like their argument would make sense logically, if the points that they're going to try to make sense, and if the evidence that they would try to use to support it makes sense, right? So this is very like peer review heavy here. This is very like relying on other people heavy here. So, uh, and there's kind of a lot of like, I'm not boxing in a lot on how you get this done, but that's how I want it done. So, yeah. And then, I mean, there's not a lot more to this video because, again, there's no one set way like I could tell you what argument I would make with that EOCB, but there's not one set argument to make with it. So you're gonna kind of just rely on your classmates and see, where their heads are at. This is really just to like help you get more in the habit of making an argument quickly, and you know, you got to trust that your classmates know what they're talking about. So, anyways, I'm just rambling at this point. So that's what you'll do, and then that's the assignment you'll submit. Okay, all right, I'm done. Bye.